All right, all right. We are back in beautiful Belmont, New Jersey, and we have a very special guest on the Grit Won't Quit podcast today. We have Michael. Michael, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you having me, Tom.
And Michael and I met through Facebook. We do work for Furry Friends. We help them with their marketing, their advertising, their website, etc. And they were moving into a huge new facility. They went from like 2,000 square feet to like 5,000 square feet. And Michael was the contractor, and so that's how we got connected in the maze of social media.
Yeah, yeah. It was a great connection. I love everything that you do for the small contractors. It's well needed.
hmm It's a hard game out there. The online game is just there's so much to it. And again, when a lot of small guys are running their business, they're in their business. They're the person that's swinging the hammer. They're the person that's the vet tech. They're not looking at just sitting in an office all day and looking at stuff. So I think our name tries to kind of sum it up with we try to be their wingman.
We have a thing in our business. We wear many of hats.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a designer. I'm just like you said. I swing the hammer. The problem solver is like top.
Yep.
You're always a problem solver because when you're doing remodel or even new construction, prints aren't done correctly or just avenues.
How's that
get in the
window going to
way.
go into that hole there?
Yeah, you open up one thing and then you're like, oh boy, Sometimes I always say I have to have Superman vision, to like predict
Yep.
things.
To see what's coming in the future.
Yeah, and it's and then of course the billing, keeping guys going, or whether if it's a bigger job, smaller jobs, you don't have so many guys, of course, and just meeting with clients, you just most of the time I tell people you'll never see me this clean. It's
You look good today.
I showered.
So, I mean, when you think about your business and where all again, the podcast is Grit Won't Quit. So, like, there's some hard days out there. And again, in your world, from what what you told me, you're traveling, into many places. You're not just
Yes.
sitting in, Tom's River or Brick, New Jersey. You're there, but you're also in other places too.
No, it would be ideal to have a job, all my jobs, 10 minutes from my house. That would be lovely. But
And it's not reality.
it's not reality. You want to take on a project and you got to weigh it out. But I've been told many a times that I have a hard time saying no. If I see somebody that truly needs me, I just went on an estimate not too long ago. The gentleman was vision impaired, and it's old house. They have a Four Seasons room. It's his favorite room in the world. He just loves being in that room. And I guess he had a contractor working there and said, he wanted the floor had a slope to it, and I think that was original. It's not like it's fallen. And the contractor says, we got to rip out this whole entire thing, and gave him like an $80,000 bid. He had another contractor come in and confirm that, yeah, it has to all go. There's no way to save this thing. So through a mutual friend, he connected me with the guy. I went out there and I looked, and I said, okay, this is what we could do. It's an old structure, yes. I could add some safety brackets underneath, not that it's pulling away now, but we could do that. That's fine. We could clean up. There's a couple boards that were rotted on the outside. We could replace easy enough. And I said, if you really don't like the slope, I said I could do a floor over the existing floor, because he is vision impaired and the slope throws him off a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to be
So,
tough.
so I said I could build something over this floor. And and there was one beam underneath. I feel like it should be structurally, taken care of. And on top of that, on top of the deck, and we could put whatever flooring you like, on top of it, like a vinyl or whatever, or even a carpet. So I said, if you're going to spend, I don't know, 12 to 15,000, 10 to 15,000, depending on what we're doing here, I said maybe that's it. And he was shocked.
Well, that's a very different number than 80.
And the other guy was 100. So I again, I have and we've talked just recently about this. I have a very, I have something in me that if I see somebody doing wrong by somebody, I have to say it.
You have a good moral compass.
I get to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I don't make $1 million. I went through Hurricane Sandy when I came back from New Jersey. Of course, like I told you, I moved out to St. Louis for 20 years and came back. And
What brought you up? What made you go to St. Louis?
my wife's brother was living out there, and we just kind of went out to visit and
Liked it.
and just saw like a nice opportunity for just easy living. And construction was booming at the time. I was a framer, and then I jumped into structural high rises. And then when things got slow, I always had like a little side gig going. So I made that. I said, well, I'll do this side gig for a little bit. And it just took off, and I just never looked back. And there's just a lot of, people out there are different, especially if you come from the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to take you sometimes.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I would show up every day. When I tell them I show up, I do the job, and I stay on that job until it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I can't believe how fast this took. They
That you got it done.
Yeah, they had other contractors that just lingered or,
Moseyed it around.
And I always kept to my price unless something major was unexpected.
Sure.
Or changes. Another deal I always did was I always got pretty good discounts at, some of the hardware stores. Supply houses. So I pass those on to the clients. I don't have to mark up my materials. I always said if you're buying a $500 refrigerator or a $10,000 refrigerator and somebody marks up 10%, first of all, that refrigerator usually goes by the people who are delivering it.
Yeah, so there's no time on
Yeah, so there's no time on them besides making a phone call, ordering a fridge. And so how do you justify adding 10% on a refrigerator? That's $10,000 or $500 or whatever it may be. And say, yeah, that's a moral decision. I can't do that.
Sure.
So I came back to New Jersey with Hurricane Sandy to help a friend out, and then there was a couple of elderly people that were really, don't like to talk ill, but they weren't just being treated right by the contractors, and they needed to get back in the house. A lot of stress goes on to the elderly people, their budgets, their everything. You have to take all that into consideration.
Sure.
So I started picking up clientele, and there was this old man that I did work for, and he was so great. Every time I said, hey, George, I got to get back, my wife's still in Missouri, and he's like, Mike, you can't leave. There's too many people that need you. We would go out to dinner. He'd turn around and start talking to people next to us. Hey, this is my contractor. You need a good contractor. Like he was promoting me all over the place. Wouldn't want me to leave. And he let me stay down at his house down in Lavalette to make it easy for me. And we'd go out to dinner. I was his buddy.
Yep.
But he was a client. And that's how personal things get with me sometimes.
You're the guy.
Yeah, it just whatever you need, I take it on, and we get it done.
And you take ownership to it.
Oh, absolutely. If something goes wrong, look, I'm human. I make mistakes. And I can say that now on a podcast to admit to my wife,
So to Mike's wife, he does make mistakes. Contrary to contrary to what he's told you at the house, he does make mistakes. You've heard it here first on Grit Won't Quit.
31 years. Yes, I do make mistakes. But you own up to it.
Mm-hmm.
You
fix it.
You correct it and you fix it. It's not the end of the world. It's and you move on. Yeah.
So now, so the business has kind of been, you've been in a lot of places. You've done a lot of things. You did, again, I met you through this big rebuild you did, but you've done Sandy Homes. You told me off camera you were doing something in Brooklyn.
Yep.
So, how is it that everybody just kind of connects with you? And then from your side, how do you kind of manage? Like if you're managing something in Brooklyn and you're managing something in Brick, they're an hour and a half away from each other for anybody that doesn't know. And again, depending on traffic, could be 3 hours. And your kind of work, you kind of have to see it. It's not like, again, my work, I build websites, right? If I'm in Brooklyn today and I'm in Brick tomorrow, as long as I have a computer, a designer that I can get on Zoom, it's very easy. In your world, sometimes you need to see
what's going on.
See what's going on. See where that issue is. See what the blueprint says. And kind of, again, there's some Zoom and FaceTimes I'm sure that you guys use, but there's a little bit more hands-on to see the issue.
Well, so I always say I have an eye for detail. My background is I was a framer. I built structural high-rises. I was a remodeler. I went to art school. I've done a lot of things, and I've done every type of construction physically, between plumbing and electrical, everything. And of course, everybody says the jack of all trades, master of none. No, I don't believe that. If I know how to take something I know and apply, and that's what you need to do in this business. When I had Dr. Dave's going, we had a
shout out to Furry Friends. The new place looks awesome.
And from day one, he said, "You ever see Shark Tank?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's what I want." Okay, black walls, dark beams, like class, right? Day two, nothing like it. And we changed design every day for the first month, I think. And so it became a design as we built project, which anybody in my field could tell you that's crazy.
Yeah.
How do you do that, especially a place like that? And the walls were set in place by the architect, great, but just the design part of it. The countertops was, I came up with the idea of using butcher block and I built that custom desk, and the benches in there with the same wood. I built those benches.
Yep, I love how you have the dogs and the cats in different sides.
That was his idea. Yeah.
Oh, that was his idea.
Oh yeah.
Not yours.
No, he has a great insight of what he needs, and he relied on his doctors and staff of what they need.
Yeah, but that's very smart. That was very forward thinking.
Yeah, and I said, okay, if that's what you want, we'll figure it out. And we went back and forth so many times with changes, and what should have took 9 months, we only did it in 6.
Wow.
I had a good crew. They worked. We didn't have to work like animals either. I mean, they worked normal hours during the week, and they came in every Saturday. And
you got it done.
And we got it done. It's just it's planning. But at the same time, I had a house in Lavalette we were painting, and we had to do it before the season began for the rentals, the whole exterior of the house. And then my friend was moving in Brooklyn to a new apartment, and we had to take care of that. And so I had 3 jobs, and I was mainly at Furry Friends. And just like you said, somebody could take a picture. My foreman over in Brooklyn says, I have an issue with this. Take a picture of it, send it me. And it just text, And I open it up, and I said, it's because of this.
So it's your insights and years in the trade, you could just see the picture.
I could walk across the room as somebody's doing something, and I used to do it to the guys all the time. Hey, make sure you do that. I don't even barely turn my head. I catch it off the corner of my eye.
That's awesome.
And it's
You're that guy.
It's yeah. I look. I not ever pat myself on the back with it, because I never call myself a master of anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's I give a good job. I don't say perfect job,
Mm-hmm.
because perfect is an eye beholder. Uh, it's a good job. I'll give you a good job, and I make everybody feel all the time that I'm 100% with them.
Yep.
Even if I have 3 jobs going, I have to make sure I give everybody their share of my time that they're they're paying for.
Sure.
Like I said, I treat every job like it's my own money out of my own bank,
Mm-hmm.
and I watch over that client's investment. It's their investment. It's their future. It's they bought that house for a reason, or got that. The house over in there's a brownstone in Brooklyn right now. They hired me as a consultant. The contractor, like I just said to you, is a very talented contractor. I can't knock him. I think there's a lot of miscommunication because the client is extremely busy with what he does, and he's from state to state. He can't watch over everything. So he brought me in, and after day one, everybody felt the change.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to call just with the contractor alone. At first, I think he was a little standoffish, and I had to assure him, I'm not here to do your job. I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. I just want to help you out with the schedule, and if you have something in your way that you need from the owner, let me be that intermediate. So
Get things done.
yeah, we can get it done faster. And after talking to him one-on-one on the phone, he realized, and he actually said, thank you for coming on board. And I said, not a problem.
Sometimes you just need that help. That person just
Yeah.
to be there to kind of help coordinate things and help move the job along, and again take some of the friction out of the job.
Well, that's it. Look, I came from a big business, building high rises in New York, multi-million-dollar companies for years, or multi-million-dollar companies, and we did multi-million-dollar projects.
Yeah.
30-story buildings and 4 buildings on one lot.
Yep, one pad.
And you want to talk about stress of safety issues, and safety is the hugest thing on those jobs. Not even getting the job done, but then there is a time frame to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
But what those jobs become is almost like a rat race: who could build it faster
Mm-hmm.
and the safest at the same time. Those two don't go together.
Yeah.
Towards the end of my last project with the company I was with, and it was a great company, but they were falling like everybody else with jobs pulling away because of the interest rates and not so much big projects going on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I found in that type of construction, they used to say, protect yourself, make sure you put out an email. Everything was about emails. Put out an email, protect yourself. I'm a handshake guy. I'm going to shake your hand, and that's my contract.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get my word for it. And I brought all the contractors, the subcontractors, together as a team. And I said, and when they needed something, my job was to provide that information for
Mm-hmm.
them. And there's some people like, I'll let them figure it out. No, it's a team effort.
I like the way you operate.
That's how you get something done.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, everybody right now is worried about cover your ass.
yeah, and hey, so 7 months ago I got laid off from the job because they just really didn't have the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat with the owner, and he said, "Thank you for being a gentleman about this." I said, "What else am I supposed to do?" I said, "You tell me you have no work. I can see you have it. You don't. You can't keep it so long. I can't expect you to give me my paycheck for nothing."
Yep.
I said, "I'll be all right." And
They need more guys like you in this world.
I appreciate it.
Everybody else feels that they're entitled to something.
No, I didn't grow up with entitlement. I grew up five boys in a family.
Mm-hmm.
Dad passed when I was 10.
Oh, my God. Sorry.
And mom was from the Bronx.
Uh-huh.
And she was a police dispatcher in Denellen. and I was on the rescue squad with her. And being that young, you really learn a lot of things, and you see the world in a different eye. I recommend everybody to do something like that. You know, and it was all volunteer.
Yeah.
You know, go out of your box
Mm-hmm.
and always learn something else.
Yep.
I've done so many things, and I'll get called the 1,000-year-old man. And we don't have enough time on this podcast for me to explain everything that I've done. And past construction, you know, I could tell you how to run a restaurant. You know, I like to learn things. I like to learn things about things, and I don't get one source. I take all sources. It's trial and error, and I see what works. And everybody, it works different for other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, what works for me might not work for you, and you have to find your limitations.
You got to find the balance that, you know, where it's productive for you and you enjoy it, and you know, that's great. I love the fact of like the moral compass and the idea that like when this guy didn't have the work, like that you weren't like, you know, I think in the world we live in today, I feel like people are like, well, I'm entitled to that. That's for me.
I love that guy. He when we had my interview, we just sat and talked like this, and he wanted to get to know me, and I wanted to get to know him.
Sure.
I want to make sure it's a good fit, and I do the same thing even with clients. My wife would tell me all the time, I bid out a bathroom job, and she goes, "What took you so long?" I said, "I got to make sure I want to work for them. I want to make sure they want me in their house." You know, and we sat at that interview, laughed. It is like
That's great though. Like,
it's a crazy interview.
and I think that I think if people did that more often, you know, there's times where I take on a customer, I know it's going to be a rough job, and
Yeah.
I've said to my guys before, we got to just push through this one. It's going to be a little bit tricky. It's going to be hard. They're going to be tough. But and you know, you do things because you have to keep your business running. You have to keep cash. You know, cash flow's king, right, in business. But like there are times where I wish that, you know, there were times where you interview them back and say, I just don't think this is going to be a good fit.
I've done it before.
You know,
I've just done
it's
it
hard.
before.
It's hard to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and again, when you're carrying a team and you need to make sure everybody's got work and you got all this stuff, you know, you take on things that you know are just going to be tricky.
This guy that I just met in Brooklyn through a mutual friend that we did his apartment over. Like I said, the guy is a very trusting guy. He's a very old soul. It was a good fit, and right off the bat, talking to him, I felt a great
Good
connection
connection,
with
yeah.
it. And I told him, I said, you know, he gave me a couple more projects to handle for him, and now he wants me to take on another project down here, actually. And it's
Good,
it's
nice and close.
oh, it's great, yeah. And you know, when I came back to New Jersey, I had the contracting business, and I still have that. And then we started a consultant business, MDB Construction Consultants, and I feel they work great hand in hand. And that's all I am. I'm not swinging a hammer for this guy.
Yep.
But I'm gonna run and bring in contractors,
The right
almost like
trades.
I'm a GC.
Yep.
But I'm gonna basically interview the contractors coming in for him, or anytime he has an issue with somebody he's using, then we'll see what the issue is and try to help him out.
Cool.
And you know, at the same time, I've been interviewing for a regular job again. You know, and my wife had to ask me, says, "What are you gonna do if this job comes through? You're taking on all this stuff." I said, and it's the worst thing to ever say, but I always say, I'll figure it out.
I'll get it done.
I'll figure it out. I'll get it done. And she's right. I just say yes to everything. I don't refuse anything. It's
in your DNA.
Yeah.
You can't fix that. You can't change that.
You know what? I came from a very hardship life. You got to imagine 5 boys and your mom.
Yeah.
I worked at 14 years old to put school clothes on me.
Yeah.
And back then it's a little different world. It was a little different world. I worked at a bar at 14 years old, stocking a bar.
Uh-huh.
At 16, I was running the bar kitchen. At 17, I ended up working at the pizzeria
Uh-huh.
and running a pizzeria at 17 years old.
Yep. That's
And
awesome.
you know, and I said that was the greatest job. I had pizza breakfast, lunch, and dinner for years.
Can't beat that.
I love it.
So I mean, it's great. I mean, to see your story, like the story. So you came from, you came and you grew up and you just got it done. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's why you just do it out today.
And I don't knock education at all.
Mhm.
I believe I'm a strong believer. There's a time and place to get further education.
Mhm.
A lot of things I need to learn is more skill set,
Mhm.
hands on, and that's how you learn. Management wise, I was very lucky. People put me in a position because they saw something in me and gave me a shot to do something.
Great.
And I learned from some of the old, I cleaned on to some of the older generation, managers
Sure.
to learn that old school style, how to do it. And again, it took what they do and added it into the new world of things.
Sure.
And made my own combination.
Your way. Yep.
Yeah. And I developed something out
Mhm.
of it. And I think that's important. You can't just be a yes man.
No.
It's just because somebody could say, Mike, do this way. And you'll get a lot of people that'll turn around that's not even on that job site all the time trying to dictate how to do something where you see it every day. And I'll be like, okay. And then turn around and say, yeah, that ain't gonna work.
Yep.
Just
So you got to put your style into it to make it work, so that it works within the constraints of the job.
I used to just tell my boss, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll let you know when it's done.
Yeah. Sure.
Just let me have at it. It's just, and they got to know me that way. But yeah, all in all, it's been a great ride. I let the universe take me where I got to go. If that makes sense.
That's a perfect way to do it. I love it. I love what you're doing, and I think that it's great. I mean, this is an inspiring story today. I am glad that you reached out and we got connected so that we can get you on here.
Absolutely. So now it's just if anybody really just needs, they're having a problem with a bigger project, they need consultant advice, we'll do it. If they need a contractor, I could provide that and help out. And I'm usually on the site as the general contractor helping out.
Perfect.
So, yeah, and somebody always says, well, do you do this? It's hard for me to tell you something I don't do.
Yep. So let people know if they want to get in touch with you, how to do that.
So there's a couple ways. I have a Facebook page. It's MDB Contracting.
MDB Contracting.
Yeah, LLC.
LLC.
But when you open up the Facebook page, on the
In the
picture,
Yep.
yeah, it actually says MDB. It says MDB Contracting, but it also the card says MDB Construction Consultants because it's both.
Perfect.
And then my phone number, it's still a St. Louis number, so I've had the number all my life, or since phones began.
Yep.
It's 636-459-7005.
Perfect. Mike, thanks for coming on today. This was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, and keep up the great work. And I look forward to seeing more successes from you.
And all the success to you. What you do for the people is just, it's outstanding.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.